Hello friends, Dr. Piyush Wala, Department of English, DSPMU University, Ranchi, Jharkhand. Today I am going to talk about T.S. Eliot and his important literary concepts. T.S. Eliot is a very significant name in the field of English literature. He was a poet, essayist, literary critic, and a dramatist. He was born in St. Louis, Missouri on 26 September 1888 in a very prominent Boston Brahmin family. Later on, he shifted to England by renouncing his American citizenship. Eliot had made a very significant contribution in the field of English literary criticism. Many of the critics were influenced by the works of T.S. Eliot, especially his classical style and religious thought. T.S. Eliot said about his criticism that it is the byproduct of his private poetry workshop, and he, with the help of literary concept, he made a literary criticism in 20th century as a new criticism, and many writers contributed in the same manner as T.S. Eliot did. So today I am going to talk about some of his important literary concepts, and among them, first I am going to take that is objective correlative. Objective correlative is something very important which he has discussed in his essay, that is Hamlet and his problem. He says that object is something that is the aim of a writer, the author, and correlative is something that makes a mutual understanding, a mutual relationship with the object. So what is that helps in developing the mutual relations? It is the feelings, it is the thought, it is the events, the chains, the situations, that all things that helps to narrate the aim, the object, in achieving the aim, that is the goal. So what he defines object correlative as, he says that objective correlative is a chain of events, objects, situations which shall be formula of that particular emotion. So one situation is taken and it is narrated with the help of, that is, feelings, with the emotions. And the example that he has placed about Hamlet, that is Shakespeare's very important play, he says that Shakespeare has completely failed in obtaining objective correlative in his play, that is Hamlet. He says that he has not justified Hamlet in this particular way, with this particular concept, that is objective correlative. He says that as a character, Hamlet find that he is a very confused personality, he is a mad personality, he has a mental disorder. But how do the readers come to know about the mental condition of or about the madness of Hamlet? It is only with the help of other characters or the dialogues of the other characters. Nowhere in the play there is any such situation or any such emotion where the reader can get connected to Hamlet and find out that no, the mental situation of Hamlet is not proper, is not in its original condition. He is mad. So he says he has criticized Shakespeare in this regard. And on the other hand, he has placed some of the beautiful examples of objective correlative being obtained by Shakespeare in his play, like Macbeth. He has placed an example of Lady Macbeth, one of the very strongest female character in the field of English literature. Lady Macbeth, the name of Lady Macbeth itself signifies that the lady is not in a proper mental condition, because the situation we find that she washes her hand, she walks in her sleep. This ultimately, through these particular actions of Lady Macbeth, the readers, they come to know that no, the lady is not in a proper, she is somewhere mad, she is getting mad. So this is how Shakespeare says that in his drama Hamlet, Shakespeare has failed in justifying objective correlative. And the best example also you can give is about Othello, the Othello as a character who is a suspicious character. He has a suspicion regarding his wife Desdemona, that is about the loyalty of Desdemona. That is not the other characters, Iago or someone else comes and narrates that okay, Othello is a suspicious personality, he is in a state of suspicion. No, it is with the situation, that is he comes to see the hanky of Desdemona left in the room. That is the situations or the actions that Othello comes to know about Desdemona, and the suspicion develops within his mind. And this is what he says, that objective correlative is very essential if an author wants to connect with the reader, and he can, through with the help of objective correlative, he can justify his creativity. The next term that I would like to take over is unification of sensibility. By unification of sensibility, T.S. Eliot emphasizes the fusion of thought and feeling. He says that there should be unity between thought and feeling. What a writer feels, he should be very much capable of bringing out that expression in a beautiful manner. It should not be scattered. The thought and the expression or the feeling should not be scattered. And therefore he says he appreciates the metaphysical poets. He says that metaphysical poets, they were very intelligent and they could fuse two different things in a very beautiful manner, and that was the talent of metaphysical poets. He in fact appreciates that they were the real contributors of unification of sensibility. Without unity there cannot be a good productivity of or creativity. So the next one is dissociation of sensibility. By dissociation of sensibility, T.S. Eliot wanted to say that the thought and feeling should not be disassociated. It should stand connected, and for this he has criticized many of the poets like Victorians, Tennyson, Browning. Even he says that they may be having a good thought, but they were not capable of bringing out through feelings. The feelings or the expressions were the style or the technique they actually missed. They could not bring out in a proper unification of thought and feeling. And he has even criticized Dryden, Milton. He says that Milton or Dryden, they may be having a very good language, but they were not capable enough of bringing out their thought with the help of feelings. They could not get connected with the reader with the help of emotion and with the fusion of thought and feeling. The thought and feeling stand apart. Next one is tradition. Tradition is a very important term that he has used in his essay, Tradition and Individual Talent. By tradition, what T.S. Eliot said was that art should not be created in vacuum. He says that art should have some association with past, present. It should have association with its surrounding. And so he says that tradition has very important role to play in creativity, in creative. And therefore he says a author or a writer should have a good knowledge of the past. And who can have a good knowledge of the past? Only who is knowledgeable. Who has a capacity to understand and analyze the past. And by this, the good writer can bring something good from the past, and that becomes the tradition, and he can connect it with the present. And by connecting it with the fusion of past and present together, there could be a very good byproduct of that is creative. There could be a very good creative. This is what he has talked about in his tradition. And again he says that tradition is something not that you can inherit or you can adopt it. Is not. You need to gain it. You need to achieve it. And that achievement is only if you are capable of understanding things. And this, in this particular essay, that is Tradition and Individual Talent, he has also talked about impersonal theory, where he says that personal feelings should have no place in criticism or in writing, and especially for critics, he says that critics should not look upon the author, rather he or she should concentrate on the creative, that is whether it may be a poetry or a drama, anything a critic the subject may be. He says that there should be no personal prejudice. that should be kept far aside, and then only you can justify the work of the writer. If your personal prejudice come over is taken over by impersonal theory of personality, then the product or the criticisms cannot be justified. You cannot justify with the help of criticism. This is all today I have talked about in my video, and I hope you people have liked it, and thank you.